Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our nightly update for the tropical basin. If you guys give me, just please bear with me for just one moment. I do not have chat up just yet. I was having a little bit of difficulty here. And then we'll jump into the forecast. There we go. Keeps popping me into this reel thing. What are we doing? It's some new update from Facebook. Uh, let's see. How do I get into the chat? Hi, Ashley. Oh, wow, this is weird. It's different. Facebook had an update or something. I don't know. We did change our internet. We changed our modem out last night, so hopefully we will not have any live interruptions or that waiting for signal anymore. We certainly got an upgrade on that, making sure that we are trying to stay up to date and right on top of everything because we've got some signals that are picking up for the basin. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Tropical Storm Fernand is still out here churning away, does not want to die. As we can see, it has had a recent burst of heavy convection on the south side of the center of circulation, so this will continue to be a tropical storm in nature for at least the next, through the next advisory and probably into tomorrow as well. If we take a look at the public advisory, we're currently located at 38.1 north, 53.4 west. Maximum sustained winds are about 40 miles an hour, and the movement is northeast at 12 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure of 1,007 millibars. There are no coastal watchers or warnings in effect, no hazards affecting land. If we come to the discussion, we're not going to go into the discussion too much, but as we could see here, in 40 or in 24 hours, we may see this actually intensify and come back up to 45 miles an hour and then finally become frontal and turn post tropical and then open up into a trough. So we're still gonna just kind of briefly talk about it. It's out here in the middle of nowhere, not affecting anybody. Just a something to look at. Maybe a little bit of shipping interest interference, but that's about it. Our forecast spaghetti plots on this is we were able to determine through the National Hurricane Center in about 60 hours, right in this particular spot, right in here, it is forecast to open up into that trough. So the lines that we see heading towards Europe are just a storm. It is not the actual hurricane itself or tropical storm. It never became a hurricane. Now, there's a reason why we came back to here, to the main screen, to make sure that we can show everybody the tropical cyclone formation is not expected over the next 7 days. But I got some news. We had our new global tropics hazards outlook that came out today, and we have ourselves an update. As you can see here, let's get this out of the way. This is now week 2, valid for September 3rd through September the 9th. We have a 20% chance of development with the wave that we'll be able to see on the models here going forward. Out into the eastern Pacific, right up along the coastline, they have a very good chance of development. And this is some of the remnant energy from Invest 99L as it works its way through the Caribbean, crosses over Central America, and then emerges into the Eastern Pacific and rides up along the southwestern coast of Mexico. For our folks out here in the southwestern United States, it does look like that this could potentially, I mean, that line was in a bad spot because the potential forecast track of this is more along this line up towards Baja Peninsula, which could then lead to some moisture stream up into the southwestern United States. So, folks, for week 2, where we do not see much of a threat, maybe a little bit of a development along the trough here, but that's always an opportunity. If we look here into the Gulf, into the Caribbean, we don't have much. We don't have much at all. But on September 10th, that is known as the climatological peak of hurricane season. It has been quiet ish so far this season. I mean, if you want to call a category 5 quiet, but it didn't hit nobody. All right, we haven't had any significant landfall. So all in all, it's been, outside of Aaron, it's been quite, quiet and a little bit tempered. Um, this is not a good signal for the September 10th to September 16th, the 3 week signal, and there are multiple reasons. One, main development region has good signal for development out here. Now we are getting into the time to where whether it makes it all the way across the Atlantic, that remains to be seen. That's a question we can't answer right now. But we do have development and a pretty decent chance of development out here into the main development region of the tropical Atlantic. We also have here in portions of the Western Caribbean and Southern Gulf, and down here into the Bay of Campeche. We have a 20% development chance opportunity there. We also have all of this enhanced moisture, all of that green. Well, there's also another little conspicuous thing on this. If you notice for week 2, we've got our primary area of development here into the Eastern Pacific. As we continue to propagate the MJO westward or eastward, we now get for week 3 dropped in to the Atlantic Basin. On top of that, you notice how you don't see anything out here? This is a concern to me because this may be a little bit more of the suppressive phase of the MJO as it cycles through here. We may see this enhance just a little bit more. There we go. That should have fixed it right there. Please let me know. I believe that has fixed it though. Yeah, it has. All right, we're back. Okay, sorry about that. We gotta figure that whole mic thing out because it just goes out for some reason, and it's unexpected times. I haven't figured out why yet. So if we take a look here, we are going to now discuss our seeds. And just to make sure that everybody knows, September 3rd to September 9th, here on the top, 20% chance of development, tropical Atlantic, main development region. Week 3, September 10th to September 16th, the Atlantic Basin's forecast to get hot. And I'll show you why. All right. Oh, Christy, good luck. If we don't have much in the short term, so if you pay a little bit more attention to your studying than the listening, I understand. Right now, we don't have a lot, at least in the short term. So what we're looking for here with the 850 millibar relative vorticity, we have the euro on the left and the GFS on the right. This is approximately 1 mile above uh, the ocean surface. And what we are looking at is areas of vorticity or spin. And we can see our tropical storm out here, ushering out into the open waters of the northern Atlantic. And as we continue to run this forward, we do see an area of rotation come off of the African mainland, rotating around. The euro has it quite weak. The GFS has it very weak. Now, this goes out 240 hours, but the one thing that we don't get to see for the euro's solution is the fact that there is a strong wave, another very strong wave, coming off of the coast of Africa, is sitting here just inland. If I were to take the GFS and run that out, though, the GFS has this very large, broad area of spin associated, similar to what the euro does, but running a couple days behind. So we still have time as far as the main development region in the Atlantic goes. But please do not be lulled into a sense of complacency because the next week is going to be quiet, because the weeks after that are not going to be quiet. So now what we're going to take a look at here is our overall wind shear. Now we know we don't have very many seeds, and we take a look at our wind shear to see how the winds are changing with height and what kind of environment that is kind of being left over, as far as, when we see seeds begin to attempt to reestablish themselves. So as I continue to run this forward here, we will note that a very strong belt of wind over the United States here coming across. This is going to be our jet stream. As you could see, by the time that we get out to about 120 hours, there are a little bit of variances and differences between the euro and the GFS. The GFS has a little bit more of a sharper troughing feature here compared to a little bit more flat and linear to the euro. Now, as we continue to run this forward, the euro then kind of buckles it and gives it a nice sharp trough. And as we could see, a very decent low pressure system here over the Great Lakes region. The GFS is located a little bit further to the north with a couple of little pockets of energy rolling there on the southern side. So as we could see, we will definitely have a good belt of shear through the next 7 days. Now, as we continue to roll forward, we will note that there is quite a considerable change here when we get out to 10 days. The first thing that we want to point out is a very, very large kind of high pressure region coming off of the African coastline here. I mean, this thing is huge on the euro. Now, whether this is going to materialize or not, that remains to be seen because it's massive. Your high would be here, and your winds are rotating around in this general direction, and I mean it's quite big. That is kind of preceding that little wave pocket that we seen there on our seeds. So there could be some shear involved. The GFS is almost similar with this feature as well. So it will be something that I'll be monitoring through the upcoming model runs in the upcoming days. We also have a very, very, I'd say focused little spot of energy right here over Louisiana. Now, this is wind shear. This is not any kind of, anything other than the frontal boundary and potentially a little low pressure center, or not low pressure center, but just a short wave of energy coming along the trough itself. But notice how things begin to break down as far as the intensity of that trough goes when we get to the end of the Euro. That is a little bit of a concern because if that doesn't reestablish itself similarly to what the GFS is calling for, then we're potentially may lose some of that East Coast troughing. And although everything is way too early to tell, it's all speculation at this point because the models really don't have that much skill out that far. Just look at large scale features once we get out that far. So what we have here is the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. Now the top two represent relative humidity at the 500 millibar level. The bottom two represent the relative humidity at the 700 millibar level. Euro on the left, GFS on the right. So that makes a little bit of sense. What we are looking for here is our 500 millibar level and our 700 millibar level. So we're trying to determine our relative humidity between, say, 2 to 3.5 miles above the ocean surface. That's where tropical cyclones like a moist environment. And if we have a very dry environment in these mid-levels of the atmosphere, then the storm itself will not behave properly. Okay. Now, as we continue to run this forward, we will notice that in the 500 millibar frames, on the top two frames, the GFS and the Euro really have a very, very large area of dry air there in the mid-levels. Now, this is out 5 days. As you can see, there's quite a bit of dry air across the entirety of the Atlantic Basin at the 500 millibar level. The 700 millibar level is a little bit different because we're obviously closer to the surface. So if we continue to run this forward, though, there is wave breaking and areas and plumes of dry air coming in and driving down into portions of the tropical Atlantic. And now I'm going to erase this and I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you how it moves. We're going to run it again. If you look at that 700, the bottom left screen, you see how that dry air filters down. Here comes another bout of dry air. Some of that makes it through. Then here comes another trough and a deep shot of dry air. A lot of this dry air has been making it down to portions of the the main development region of the tropical Atlantic. This, on top of the Saharan air, has been what has helped to keep the main development region pretty well under wraps. So, knowing that now we've looked at our wind shear, we've looked at our dry air, and now we're looking at our sea surface temperatures. The sea surface temperatures out here are pretty well, yes, for tropical cyclone development. Even in the areas of the upwelling of Aaron, yes, it has wiped out the oceanic heat content, but the very surface of it is still enough to maintain a tropical cyclone, albeit for a very short period of time. The oceanic heat content is pretty much gone in that region, and I can show you that. August 25th. As you can see, we will jump all the way out to the Atlantic. Watch what happens as with the oceanic heat content as Aaron blows through. And then the upwelling occurs. Boom. There it is. And the oceanic heat content is pretty well tapped in that region. I mean, there's still just enough surface water to keep it keep it going for a little bit, but not a lot. Anywhere else, though, big time issues. And you look at the oceanic heat content down here into the Caribbean, and yeah, there's certainly cause for concern as we get closer and closer to that dreaded month of October for our fellow Florida residents. So now we are looking at the Euro ensembles, the EPS legacy. This is not AI, and I've got this pushed out all the way out to 10 days. And yesterday we were mentioning that we were seeing a little bit of signal and some scratch out here in the main development region. And again, we're seeing a little bit more of a picked up signal and a little bit more scratch here tonight compared to what we saw last night. Now, if I run this out, say to day 12, you could see that we certainly have some signal from that wave that would potentially exit. As it gets further along the basin, it may find a better environment as it starts to approach the islands. And then we have the emergence of another wave coming off. So it's certainly going to keep us busy of monitoring these waves. But please keep in mind, folks, just because it's quiet now, that doesn't mean a damn thing about what's going to happen next week or in 2 weeks. Because even if we look at the Euro AI and we compare that day 10, we can see we've got a little bit of a scratch mark right here into the central portions of the main development region. Again, I'm going to pop this out day 12. Look, we've got more signals, an increasing amount of signals as it gets, 50 west and further along. And then we're also starting to get just a little bit of a hint. Obviously, it's way out in time, but we're starting to get another hint of potentially another wave emerging from the African mainland. And that one is the one that would be for week 3 from the Climate Prediction Center Global Tropic Hazards Outlook. So, if we compare this all to the GFS, now, as we could see with the GFS doesn't have as many members, only has 31 members. But if we look, we do have a little bit of a scratch out here into the main development region. Again, if we push it out 12 days, we get a little bit more of a signal coming off of the mainland of Africa and a little bit of an extension of some of that scratch. Now, I haven't mentioned on all 3 of the models the stalled out frontal boundary and the potential, areas of vorticity that could develop along the frontal boundary. That is always a given. We don't have anything on the tropical outlook from it. It may not be tropical in nature. A lot of these lines are most likely not tropical in nature. But if a low pressure center were to develop along that and be able to shed its frontal characteristics, then yes, we could get some type of tropical system out here in the western portions of the Atlantic. But all signals right now look that it is all going to remain non-tropical, even if a low pressure center were to develop. All right. Yes, it is. It is, Christy. It is very, very um, abnormal right now. Just the fact that here I am on the anniversary. So, day before yesterday, we had the anniversary of Andrew. Yesterday, we had the anniversary of Harvey. Today is the anniversary of Laura. And we've got Katrina coming up this week. We've got Ida. The anniversary of all of these major, major impacts have occurred usually in the last week. Like it's almost like a cursed week of the last week of August. Well, this year, and we're going into the last week of August, and no tropical cyclone formation is expected over the next 7 days. What, Kyle? I'm gonna be real with you. You said it, not me. You said it, not me. I'm definitely not going to say that it's going to be a below average season. Nope. Nope. Average is 14, and we've already had 6. We're ahead of an ace is because of what the 32.2 that Aaron gave us. We're already climatologically, although we haven't seen much, Aaron was enough to kind of throw us over the edge climatologically as of right now. And it's gonna be something. I mean, like the latter half of this season. Don't let your guard down. All right. Yeah. So if we take a look at the Google DeepMind model, we begin to run this forward day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8. We could see some signal from the Google DeepMind. And it has been getting rave reviews, especially for what it did with Aaron. Didn't really make that right hand turn the best, but boy, it certainly performed very, very well with a lot of its track life and its intensity. It even outperformed some of our most ridiculously powerful and expensive models. So, taking a look real quick at the Google DeepMind, we'll zoom in. You know what? Let's go ahead and pull up the rest of the ensembles along with it. Let's drop it back to where we get some of the yellow or some of the oranges. And then we'll go again. As you can see, there is the potential for some type of development. A couple of the ensemble members really want to try to ramp this thing up. It is way too early to say, but we can see that there is certainly some signal between Google DeepMind and the Euro. We're out 10 days at this point, right at the 240-hour mark. So everybody, we still got the second half of season to go. All right. Our quick update as far as the MJO is concerned. As we can see, this thing is now starting to move into phase 4. Finally got a little bit of momentum behind itself and is forecast to eventually. There is some debate, discussion. Here, we'll go back here. And so what we have here is the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook discussion. There is one part of this that I do want to point out to folks. Let me find it. I read it on my phone, so okay, right here. If this MJO evolution verifies, then the chances for TC or tropical cyclone genesis across the main development region of the Atlantic Basin would increase from weeks 2 to week 3. In addition, the Euro weekly anomaly forecasts are consistent with this timing heading towards mid-September. Therefore, the global tropics hazards outlook calls for TC development chances increasing from 20 to 40% to 40 to 60% from weeks 2 to week 3. One caveat to this expectation of a more favorable large scale environment associated with the MJO by mid September is that the GEFS continues to have a large ensemble spread on the MJO evolution in the weeks ahead. That said, there is our spread in our GEFS ensembles. They're all over the board, they're everywhere as to where they could go, where they may not go. Anywhere pretty much in this gray shaded area is where it could go. The real dark graded shaded area is where it's likely to go. So it's all over the board, folks, and we'll have to keep note of it. But the right now the global tropics hazards outlook certainly has us in line for the potential of a switch being flipped for the Atlantic Basin and things turning hyperactive. No, and Christy, y'all are right. No, and don't get me wrong. It has been a rather abnormal season. I mean, it's been quiet now as far as the Atlantic is concerned. But if you look at the Eastern Pacific, they've been above normal. So the problem that we're really going to run into is this. Is our La Nina. So let me get here. We want our percentages. Outlook. I don't want the PDF. Oh, damn it. I downloaded something that I probably shouldn't have. That's not what I want. Y'all gonna make me pull it up in another way. I don't normally use this website for our Outlook. Alright, give me a second here. Give me just 1 second. This is where I go. It's so much easier. As we can see with the early August probabilistic for Enzo, let's pull the graphic up. Let's see, we need to make sure that it is the CPC. Nope. I just want the CPC, thank you. That's all I want. This is the models. I don't want the models. Probabilistic. Alright, I've had about enough. Well, anyway, there. I just want to bring, I would like to. Alright, there we go. This is the Climate Prediction Center's forecast. And if you notice here, we're looking at the potential of an onset La Nina for September, October, November. This would lead to lower shear component values over the Western Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. That, combined with the fact that we could, about the only thing that's going to save us from that, it would be a large trough or something along those lines, a very strong cold front. Oh yes, ma'am, Martha. I'm definitely. I'm concerned about what the second half of the season is going to look like. Though, um, in technicalities, Aaron and the remnants of Aaron in this massive low pressure system that developed with Aaron may, and I'm not going to get into all the technicalities with it. It'd take forever to explain it all, but it may have kind of a butterfly effect, in so to speak, and come back to potentially assist us and protect us, or parts of the United States in around the third week of September. Now, that is definitely not a set in stone thing. But knowing how teleconnections and stuff work in the atmosphere and meteorology overall, there are some events that trigger other events, and the remnants size and intensity of Aaron with the overall heat that was transitioned from the the lower latitudes to the upper latitudes, that may cause some interruptions and perturbations in our jet stream in about a month. But where that's going to drop remains to be seen. And it's likely that this turned into a sudden stratospheric warming event, or SSW as it is known for the acronym. But where and how it is going to materialize later on down the road, because, all right, damn it, now I'm going to go into explain it. Because we have Earth and all, and I really ain't got nothing out there to talk about, so, I mean, what the hell? Might as well. If y'all don't mind, we'll go on a little adventure. So, we are going to come up here to the 250 millibar level, and I'm going to get out some white here so we can all see. We've got, let me zoom out so we can get the entirety of the northern hemisphere, and I'm going to put this right here is the North Pole. This is basically 0, 0 on the compass. If we look here, we have our jet stream rolling around like this. This is what's known as the polar vortex. Right now, it is very weak, being the fact that it is coming out of summer, headed towards winter, hence polar. So you get a lot of these undulations. And you get one here, you've got one there, you've got another one there, another one there. You get undulations throughout. You've got a large ridge over the west coast here, which is allowing a lot of these areas to kind of dive down this way and to get down towards the eastern portions of the United States, and then how the jet goes back through. Well, the remnants of Aaron could inject a sudden warming event into the stratosphere. Now, the stratosphere is above. This is a little bit too high, but you can somewhat see this is at the 70 millibar level. So, as you can see, our stuff only goes up to 150 over here on this graphic. And so you can imagine 70 is way above that on top of that. But you could still see somewhat of the traces of the jet stream. You could still see it. Now, what may occur is in the injection of heat coming in here, and as this rotates around and continues along, we end up getting some type of large low pressure. Now, whether it develops here, whether it develops here, Who knows? But then the jet stream itself normally buckles. And at that point, it usually rushes into one of two spots is normally common, and that is rushing into the United States and or rushing off like this into parts of Russia and Siberia. And that would actually, hold on, let me get my bearings. You would end up with a lot of it over here as well. That's Europe. I screwed that up. No. It'd be over here. Opposite of where we're at over here. So it's just it's by no means is that a scientific breakdown. It's just a quick analogy in a way of what I was mentioning. All right, let me check back. Make sure. Oh, no, Christy. Absolutely not. I'm not talking about anything. No, ma'am. And you're studying too? Absolutely not. No, you start. Nope. I've learned the hard way by watching some of your public service announcement, and I use public service announcement with air quotes, videos that you have shared with us. And no, I won't watch them anymore. I don't need saved, and I don't need public announcements. Absolutely not. Jonathan, are you sure about that, Bubba? Are you sure about that, Jonathan? All right. So, real quick, now that we've kind of jumped off topic and launched all over the place, which is normally what we do when we don't have much to talk about, our nightly dust model. As you can see, the dust is not making it across the basin very far. It's falling apart as it is approaching the islands. And we've got wave after wave that are still forecast to come off, but we won't have the protection or the added benefit of the Saharan air layer. Not now. That's the beginning half of the season. The second half of the season, Uncle Sal goes and takes a nap. All right, jumping out here real quick to the Eastern Pacific. We have Juliet. You tried everything she had to achieve hurricane status, fell short. Strong tropical storm, made it up to 70, has since fallen back to 65. But the Eastern Pacific has lit up like a Christmas tree on, with the outlook. Like, okay, all right, we're not playing. We've got a spot out here into the Central Pacific currently with a 20% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days. We have disturbance number 2. This has a 0% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 30% chance of development over the next 7 days. We have Juliet currently active. And then we have some of the remnants there, and energy associated with Invest 99L has a 0% chance in 48 hours. Obviously, it's not over there yet. And a 30% chance of development over the next 7 days. So the Eastern Pacific is definitely picking up, which is really, we were talking about abnormalities. It's really weird to see this fire off like this when we are looking at the water temperatures and the anomalies of the Enzo region. It doesn't usually work like this. It doesn't. So why this region is firing off? MJO. Welcome to a neutral season, everybody. Enzo neutral, and it has been a pain. It's been very abnormal and very weird. Some aspects look like they're El Nino, some aspects look like they're La Nina. They flip back and forth and they kind of rotate around, and it's been wild to watch. Like you learn real quick in a neutral season is like, all right, wait a week, maybe 2 weeks, and the pattern's definitely going to change. All right, taking a look at the satellite here on Juliet. Looks good, nice spin. But if you notice off here to the north and to the west, these clouds, these are cool, stable air clouds, and these are now starting to wrap around and get entrained here where Juliet is concerned. Juliet is going to continue to move over cooler and cooler waters with increasing shear and a more drier and stable atmosphere. That being said, she is forecast to not last too much longer. As we could see with the forecast track here, no threat to land, nobody at all. We are currently located at 19.9 north, 117.2 west, with the maximum sustained winds of 65 miles an hour, moving northwest at 10 miles an hour, with a minimum central pressure of 996 millibars. Obviously, there are no coastal watches or warnings in effect, and there will be no hazards affecting land. If we look at the discussion, we are not going to go through it all, but as we could see in the next 36 hours, it is forecast to become a minimal tropical storm and then a post-tropical or remnant low by 48 hours. So, not much. But with the way that the outlook is, we'll still have plenty to talk about as far as the Eastern Pacific is concerned, regardless whether Juliet remains a system or not. And last but not least, jumping out here to the Western Pacific, we have Invest 93W moving over the northern portions of the Philippines, and Luzon has been causing quite a bit of rain. This, unfortunately, is forecast to continue off to the west and potentially follow something similar into the track of Kajiki that just made landfall day before yesterday here in Vietnam. So here we go again, and the rain, and they had tornadoes, and it was a mess. All right, everybody, and last but not least, just to let everybody know, do not get caught up with the lull of this season so far. We've got all this to go. And with what I'm looking at, maybe this portion of the program getting an enhancement due to ENSO conditions and a La Nina atmosphere setting up. We didn't have it here, but we could get a plus here. This was a minus. This could be plus. All right, everybody. I am going to go ahead and sign off for tonight. I will be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, here on Facebook and YouTube. If you guys got anything, any questions, feel free. Bring them along. I am damn sure not an expert, but if I cannot immediately provide you with a answer and the data to back it up, I will get back to you very shortly, because I will then start asking around and seeing what information I can find out for you and get an answer for you as quickly as possible. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful evening. And yeah, James, I didn't say anything because it's not my spot, but yeah, Dr. Needham, we love you, Bubba. So if you need us, we're here. And that's all I'll say on it. It's just it's no one else's business. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow night, and hopefully we've got a little bit more of a signal and more things to talk about out here into the Atlantic. We'll check our seeds and see if any of them are going to grow in the long range. So have a wonderful evening, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.